upside down or however, it doesn't make any difference. Okay. Now, the other thing were the blood volume things, which they talked, which you've already had done, so that's late now. Okay, now let me go back and summarize in real quickly some of the things. I guess it's clear to you then that from what you've seen, that there are some things that are different from this mission from missions that we've seen in the past. Now, I think it's very important that that we put these in some kind of proper context. Now, obviously, there are some things that we have done, and I want to be clear about that there are some things we have done on this mission where we have followed them to completion. And as we've looked in detail at some of the data in the past, there have been guys occasionally who were not followed totally to the time that they were completely back. And in utter fairness to all of you, we want to say that, and we've looked pretty carefully here with them. They were not followed out to where they were completely back to their pre-flight normal. Okay, there were some, and there have been an occasional guy along the way that is the case. But as a general kind of a thing, and I'm making it as a general statement now, and realizing that we can find some things that don't fit that, the responses that you have had in these areas that we've talked about here show some things which we had not seen in exactly that same way before. They do fit the hypothesis that we've had. We think we're going to be able to come up with some clear statement about exactly where, why we've seen what we've seen, sort of thing. We think we're going to be able to do that. Now, along that line, as far as the potassium thing is concerned, as an example, as a single example, there was, as Carter told you, we hadn't had that particular measurement before. We have that now, which helps us a lot better than looking at a serum. We have seen some lowering of serum potassium before. The thing that he said is, yes, we can get potassium chloride. I mean, if you start looking for a fix, can you put potassium chloride in, or can you put potassium in a form that it'll get utilized, which feel most potassium does because of the hydrochloric acid. But can you give, we've been putting some additional potassium in anyway, in the drinks, and there was some in the food bar and so forth. Now, do you, though, utilize that stuff? Can you get it in the cell, or is the door open on that cell and it's going to go out, and it doesn't make any difference if you keep loading it in there and it isn't going to go in? Then that's something we've got to look at still, that we don't know the answer to either. And that sounds great. You say, well, gee, so you're down at potassium, so put the potassium back, and that sounds like an obvious solution. And it may be. It may turn out that we can still do that. But there's something funny here about the way that potassium has left the cell. And exercise, as has been stated here too, which may help to account for what happened to you tonight, is that you do in a weighted state get that, just as you adapt, we know you lose some potassium, and then when you finally get out and do some work in that environment at a very high work level, that you really get out and exercise there for any prolonged period of time, you do normally pull some more potassium, because when you exercise, potassium tends to leave the cell too.
We really did need the Gatorade then.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have helped, as a matter of fact. I thought Dave bought stock in it there when I heard him say that a couple of times, but it sounded pretty good. But you're right.
I had some back in the food box.
Yeah.
We never got to.
Did you have some Gatorade? Real Gatorade?
No, it wasn't Gatorade. Quick Kick or.
But it was, yeah. But anyway, it was. Yeah. Gatorade as a particular thing, yeah, it doesn't have as much potassium as the Quick Kick does, as a matter of fact.
What was the answer?
It was one of those others anyway. I know that was aboard. Yeah, I didn't know that you finally had it aboard. Okay, now the other thing is the Russians. What have we seen from the stuff that they have? Well, they have had some things that have been different here too, and particularly on their Soyuz 9 flight, on their 18-day flight. We don't know for sure what they've seen from this last flight in any detail. I'm sure there's some data that they were able to obtain during that mission that is still going to be validated. That we'll still get, and it will be of value. It's going to, and we hope we're going to be able to get that in October in the exchange. I sincerely hope. And that's where I was day before yesterday in Washington. Got back at noon yesterday. We've been trying to organize that exchange. Now, the thing that they have seen is prolonged. They've seen the level of orthostatic intolerance that you guys have had. They had a fairly much more marked amount of that certainly than what we've seen with that particular flight. They have seen it some on every flight as we have seen it. We don't really know whether they're doing LBNPs or not. They have used tilt. We've been trying to find that out, and I couldn't get a clear statement from Curran a month ago whether he really, whether they had it on Salyut or not. And we have some evidence that it would make it appear that they tried it on Salyut, but they're not using it routinely in their labs pre and post. They've been using tilt instead of the LBNP. So there's been a great hue and cry because of the Soviet data that came out of that particular flight, where they have been pretty clear publicly, amazingly, about the status of those crewmen, and they really were unable to get out of the spacecraft without some assistance. They had some. They use the term statokinetic, which just means they had postural difficulties in assuming an erect posture, walking properly, gait difficulties that they had for a period of almost 10 days post-flight. They had difficulties, and you'd be interested in this, Jim, that they had some difficulties in holding a cup. They couldn't hold a cup that was like this. The cup was always tilted. Cups were tilted, and they tend to spill things out of them. And there was some tremor associated with this too. And their cosmonauts, strangely enough, I don't know if Tom has talked to you, but Tom was in Belgrade with Popovich at the time. When he went for this funeral, he came back through Belgrade, or went through Belgrade. I'm not sure which it was, going or coming. But he had a talk with Popovich at some length there, and he is concerned. As a cosmonaut, he was concerned about his colleagues and what he saw with them from the Soyuz 9. Now, we talked at length with the Soyuz 9 crew, as a matter of fact, both in Constance last year and then here when they were here. We also talked to the people who did the exams on it at some length. And again, it's very hard to piece all of these things together, but they did have, there's no question about it, they had changes which were far more severe than anything we've seen and lasted far longer than anything we had seen. Now, the situation that we're in at the present time, then, is that what's happened with you guys is much more like what has happened to the Russian crew than anything we've seen before with our crew. Now, the thing that...
To what degree?
Well, not about probably maybe somewhere in a, I don't know, it's hard to say, a third, a half, something like that. Not anything to the same degree that they had. We don't have the trouble is, see, we don't have detailed, we don't have an exact, we don't have charts like this to look at, David. I hope we will.
Physiological response, but certainly not external physical.
Oh, no. External physical responses, I'd say, oh hell, clear down the noise level compared to them. Oh yeah. You had none of that business. No, absolutely not. No, they really had difficulty walking and being erect. They had very, very marked.
Do you know much about their internal physiological responses, such as potassium and
No.
blood cell mass and all? You don't know much about that?
We do not yet at all. And this is one of the things that we really are going to try and pin them down to. And I think we probably will. I mean, it looks like they're going to come through with that, and that's going to be a big help to us. Now, the reason I want you to understand this is because there are some, the implications from this are the things that you guys need to understand, because you're going to be put in this position, and Dave and I talked about this a long time, the first of the week. You have some concerns which, and I don't know, whether you all have these, but I assume Dave is telling me, the kinds of things that really concern all of you, and I can understand why you have some of the concern that, okay, are you being labeled in some way because of this? Is a concern that you have as individual crewmen here. And that's one concern, that's one implication, let's say. I haven't seen, personally, I have not seen any evidence of that from any sources. Now, I spent the other evening with the night that I was in Washington, I spent with George Lowe, and I spent about 4 hours with him out of the town hall. Incidentally, he sent this to Millie St. George. We drank it that night. I hate to tell you, Dave. But he had
nice guys, they send you the cork.
Yeah, isn't that nice? He wrote on it, he said, take that today. So
Very good. Very good.
He
That's
put
the
it,
real stuff, too.
That's the real stuff. It was the real McCoy, and we drank it. It's very good.
Did he tell you that? I guess he told you.
Yes, he sure did.
Good for him.
He told me about the whole story. Now, let's. The thing is that we need to decide on what we do with a plan. And as George told me the other night, he had seen everything that came out from the thing that had happened with us last. What is it? A week ago today. A week ago Friday. Yeah, a week ago today. Black Friday, last Friday, where we had all this business happen with because we were getting put in a spot because there were going to be press things come from the New York Times business, and so when we got into that, the things that came out of that they had clipped all this stuff apparently, and I haven't seen it. George told me this, and I haven't seen the actual clippings myself, but he said that his guys up there had pulled all this stuff from papers and other things. And he said he thought that it came out very, very well, as a matter of fact. That he thought that it was played in a proper thing, that, okay, we were getting it out, but we weren't, it wasn't played up big as some big problem yet, and that we weren't hit too badly